Okay, I got a little static.
Ready? We all here? Parnell?
Parnell's here.
A minute. Ready, Parnell? Okay, I'd like to go ahead and call to order the Town of Fraser's regular meeting on this today, February 15th, 2023 at 6:02. Can I please have a roll call?
Katie Fisher,
And Louis Gregory.
Eileen Waldo,
Brian Zerkbenek.
Arnold Quinn.
Katie Souls.
Philip Vandernail. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda, please?
So moved. Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Then can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, which just has the minutes from February 1st?
I so move.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great. Welcome, everybody. For those here in the audience, if you haven't done so, please sign in over here. During open forum, this is for everybody online. Is there anybody online? Do we have anybody? So for open forum, this is where you get to address the board and raise your hand and we'll call on you, come up to the podium, state your name, and then if you live in the town of Fraser or not. And 3 minutes, you're going to get 3 minutes and you only get one shot at this. So here we go. Does anybody have anything on open forum? Going once. Twice. Okay. There's no public online, correct? No. Okay. Next is public hearing and possible action ordinance number 491, amending chapter 19, article 2, division 2 regarding building height regulations within Victoria Village. And Michael will be leading this discussion.
Mr. Mayor, we did just have this one person join. Up to you if you want to. All right. Welcome, Mayor and Board Trustees. Before you for this item, we are talking about the Victoria Village zoning district overlay. This went to the Planning Commission on January 25th. The Planning Commission had a good discussion about it, talked about elevations of the site in comparison to the elevations of the highway. With that, they came up with there's about a 10-foot difference between what is existing on the Highway 40 versus what's in Victoria Village. This overlay was created to help facilitate affordable housing development. Following us acquiring the site and awarding a developer this project, having some discussions with them about the current overlay before we approach the master planning workshop series. The only thing that came up that may be worth looking at was the height allowance for Victoria Village. The current height is 45 feet for Victoria Village development. This request and this ordinance would increase the height limitation for that zoning overlay to 55 feet. So we're talking a 10-foot increase. Based on the location of the lot, this neighboring buildings and construction, it was ultimately decided that it was a favorable recommendation from the Planning Commission, and that was reflected in the Planning Commission resolution that's also provided there in the packet. And the height limitation will allow for higher density development for some cost savings that can be reflected to area median incomes, provide some additional affordable housing, and hopefully achieve lower area median incomes to for this raw land to build this. So we could see some cost savings there, be able to hit some of the AMI goals reflected in the housing needs assessment study for some of those lower AMI brackets, and also be able to offset some of the additional development in the area. This is recommended by the Planning Commission and is highlighted by staff if the board decides to approve this height increase. The board still has ultimate say as far as the master planning process on any portions of the development that would actually go to 55 feet. So through that master planning process, the alternatives presented to the board and the final master plan presented to the board, which we anticipate for May. The board ultimately has to say so where, if anywhere, on Victoria Village could achieve that height. This would allow for 4 stories of construction, very similar to the buildings that you see adjacent to Hideaway Park. They're being built, those 4-story apartment buildings. And this can also allow us to achieve density in certain areas of the parcel, while also being able to use other areas for things like home ownership opportunities, townhomes and row, and some commercial development. So it's really providing some opportunity for, hopefully, there's no desire for market rate housing to go on the Victoria Village site. But at the end of the day, things need to pencil out, and they need to show return on investment to the developer. And this provides a little more flexibility to achieve that, to provide for those lower area median incomes for housing, and just have a little more flexibility walking into the master planning process. So we have this was successfully put in the paper for public notice requirements. We provided the survey, the Victoria Village Alta that you see there, that shows the lay of the land and the contour lines. From there, you can see the difference in the contour elevations from Victoria Village to Highway 40. Yeah, this would be an increase of 10 feet to that overlay. The current zoning for the rest of downtown development and zoning areas along Highway 40 are 45 feet limitations. So bring this to the board for consideration and discussion.
Okay, board, anybody have anything, questions or comments?
Well, I'm in favor of the height, adding the 10 feet. I think there's other places in town we could look at as well that could be 55 feet, especially if they're going to, like this was just the opposite, but if they're going to add in some workforce housing to their projects, commercial mixed stuff, I think it'd be good to allow people that opportunity to get to that 55 foot. If it helps them pencil out their deals to get more housing for long-term market.
I would agree with that. Michael, it looks like the parcels are kind of laid out on the southern part. What's the story with the northern above the part north of the wetland area? And is that included in the 55 feet?
Along County Road 8,
So
Yeah.
that is
Hempstead
included.
River.
That is included in that 55-foot allowance. So the overlay covers the entirety of the Victoria Village subdivision. So it would stretch to that northwest area as well.
Okay.
And I think that there's some, there can be some good tact of approaching where these higher buildings, if anywhere on the site, would make sense. And that's part of the conversation and the input that we could receive from the community through the master planning process.
Yeah, I do like that the elevation of the highway is at least 10 foot higher than the ground level elevation at one point. Another thing that was brought up at planning commission, there was a question about, well, are people's views gonna be blocked? The, whether it's 3-story or 4-story, those existing condominiums that are adjacent to that land, they're gonna lose some of their view. But that's just how it is, when you don't own the property next door. Unfortunately, we all know how that goes. So I'm in favor of it. And it helps us pave the way for moving this whole process ahead and for our public meetings to see what people want and where.
Thank you. Any other?
Well, I was confused about the well, the planning commission approved it for a maximum of 55. But one of the options was 55 and more. Right?
Oh, at the planning commission, as far as recommendations went?
No, in our packet. One of the options. There were 3 options,
Okay.
1 to 55, 1 to 55 plus more, and not allowing it. So I was confused about the option in the middle.
Yeah, that was about.
I believe what was being addressed as far as that option is the overall height would be 55. But the board could amend that to some degree to allow restrictions or that 55 height only in certain locations of that. It wasn't to raise it above 55 feet. That would probably have to go back to the planning commission.
And
So-
and Eileen, also my intention behind writing that was pertaining to other parts of the zoning overlay. We've talked to the developer about this. The height restriction is really the only concern. They thought the parking was adequate, the different requirements outlined in the zoning overlay. So I just leave that open for if the board saw anything that we haven't thought of as far as with the zoning overlay itself, lot widths, the setbacks and side, between buildings, those types of things. So, sorry if that was misleading. It was mainly just to provide some options for any other changes the board might see as favorable. Which could, I guess, include the height, but the recommendation is 55.
Louis or Katie?
In favor of it.
I'm fine with it. I mean, we have a chance to revisit this at some point with the master plan. Right.
Absolutely.
We want to open it up to the public? Public?
I believe this is a public hearing.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Not seeing any hands go up. Do we have anybody online now? Looks like we no longer have anybody online. Michael?
No one else is online there.
Just quick, we know if there's other places that have 55-foot height zoning allowance.
not in Fraser.
Because I know Graham, Rhonda was asking if they did employee housing over by the fire station, they came in a while ago, said for them to do it, they.
In that case, without the overlay district, they would have to go to the Board of Adjustments for variance.
Okay, no public comments. Close the public hearing. We have a motion to close. the public hearing?
Well, then we have a motion to open.
Right. Quick question, Michael, what's the Riverwalk overlay district's height?
Right,
Is that
so
55?
it's 45
Okay,
in the Riverwalk and the business street. They
okay.
both have the same height. They're very similar with the Riverwalk. I'd have to look at them next to each other, but I know the height is 45.
Okay,
That it?
that's it.
Can I have a motion to close the public hearing, please?
So moved.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, board,
I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance number 491, amending chapter 19. Article 2, Division 2 regarding building height regulations within Victoria Village Overlay District.
Second.
any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Next is resolution 2023-0203, Department of Housing Grant Authorization for Victoria Village, and this is Rob.
This is also a public hearing if we want to open this one.
Well, I did open the other one. You don't have to have a motion to open. We've been through this numerous times. Like the mayor by saying
But you made a motion.
it's open, it's open, okay?
Gotcha. Interesting.
Ask the attorneys.
Should we?
Okay.
Welcome. This is a public hearing to acknowledge that we've pretty much already taken these steps. And this is to meet the compliance requirements for applying for the Department of Housing grant funding. This is one where we are applying for up to $10 million and we would create a 25% match. So there's a risk for the town that we would basically go through waivers of fees and other donations that would allow us to make that match and get $10 million. The probability of that is low right now. They've just actually pulled the grants for review and are not doing any review or notices until March because of the overwhelming requests for the existing funds. But the way this resolution is written, it is also opens it up that we can apply for other DOLA grants under this resolution with the idea of if this one does not come through, that we can be in the queue for more. Right now it is lots of money through the infrastructure funding that's come in and a lot of everybody's competing for it. So I don't want to delay applications for future grants. And this is where we've did a letter of intent in December. We did a commitment to adhere to the terms of the grant, and we submitted that already with the grant. And this is the last piece of having the public hearing piece to make sure that we've met all the check boxes on the grant. Any questions?
Annually, what do we bring? I know we have reserves here close to 20 million, but what do we bring in a year in total taxes?
Property and sales. So property taxes is about $500,000. The sales tax on our 4% is about $5 million, like $5.5 million. And so those are the two main funding streams. Our overhead and just general operations is about 6. So, and that's in the general fund only.
Anybody else?
Yeah, Rob, I don't know if I'd call it a risk or I call it really an investment.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's a 3-to-1 match.
It is.
Pretty good deal.
If they were to build out 170 units through fee waivers, we would not put anything in because our fee waivers would cover that as our contribution to keeping that going. And the goal would then be putting in the horizontal infrastructure under this grant, which would allow us to hit those really low AMI targets.
Anybody else from the board before we open it up to the public?
Good job getting it in under the wire. It was close. It was close.
Okay, once again, here in the building, anybody would like to make comment on this, you can, Megan has come in here, so you would step up to, I've already given a description, so you're going to come up to the podium, state your name, whether you live in the town of Fraser or not, and you're going to have 3 minutes. So anybody here in the building? Anybody, nobody's online?
Nobody's online.
Okay, can I have a motion to close?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And a motion or further discussion or?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2023-02-03 for Department of Housing grant authorization for Victoria Village.
I second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next is discussion and possible action, and it is the treasurer's report. Rob.
Okay. We've crossed over 2023 and we'll start showing you some of the new numbers that are coming in. We'll go to the next slide, Michael. It's a scroll down. It's only a few slides. Cool. Go ahead and scroll down. So statements, basically, these are our funds. These are reserves across our funds that sit in a bank account. What I want to call out is November 1 through basically February 1, we've been remarkably stable. That's going to change over the next few months. The reason of the increase here is because we deferred a bunch of capital projects from 2021 into 2022. And now we are actually going to start putting shovels in the ground. So 2023, we're going to start drawing that down. And that's kind of where we were looking at this and saying, okay, we have reserves, and the little green is what we maintain in our operating budgets, which is our checking account and savings account. But that will, I suspect, we'll start to draw down slowly March, April, and then speed up into the summer as we start to get to completion on projects. So just calling that out early. And then next slide. Here's sales tax. It's a blue line, but it's really a dot. Line graphs require a line. So I made up a number for February and kept it consistent. January sales tax that came in was really reporting what happened in December. And we were doing better. Christmas spending, end of the year spending, all that stuff has been steadily increasing each year, as you can see on the graph. And this year, or in 2022, we capped out right just above 6 million total, and that's the 5% collected, but then it gets divided out into the 1% and 4% for restricted revenue. Next. So I'm going to go hijack Michael's computer for a sec and walk through some ClearGov stuff. You've all been invited to ClearGov as a reviewer from the board level. You should have an email. If you haven't, let me know and I can resend that to you. What this allows you to do is get in and see what's in ClearGov. As a reviewer, you can kind of scroll around and check out everything. I'm going to walk you through a couple things so that you understand what's there. And then where I'm going to just go ahead and forward this, is that ClearGov is it's a portal where we can internally communicate through it, but it's also where you can present our financial data to the general public. And ClearGov is not our accounting system. Cassell pushes into ClearGov when we tell it to. So it's something that if we haven't pushed in, it's going to be out of date. So I've not made this public yet, but this is where I want you to start understanding, because these presentations will start revolving around what we have in ClearGov. So. So the most basic version is you have your navigation screen here on the left. You have your home and capital budgets. I showed you this last time. This is our capital plan for the next 4 years of things that have been submitted as far as the different projects. When we scroll down, this is what you can get into. You can drill into different projects, see where the funding is actually coming from. Most of these are just coming out of our capital funds account. Personnel budgeting is not really in here because it's we're really not set up and big enough to make that work. So I just hard coded it into operational budgeting. But this is what I want to show you. So we have in here all of our funds. I will say that JFF is in here also as a fund under the town. And so when we look at the all funds, certain stuff rolls up. What I want to do is say the red is not negative, but we do not have a $7 million surplus. So this is looking at an all funds summary. So if you took all the revenues, all the expenses across all the funds, These are where the numbers add up. However, this also means that we're double counting transfers between funds, and where we're moving money back and forth. And the internal transfers are not the real dollars. But this breaks out each of the funds. When I look at this and I say wastewater fund has 6 million in revenue, the reason that's not real is because I've just coded this stuff into ClearGov. It counts the 4 million or 4.5 million of unassigned fund balances that are the reserves for the wastewater fund. And that's not the wastewater treatment plant, but that's the wastewater fund. It's sitting there as on a revenue side. Does that make sense? So it's basically the savings accounts been counted as revenue counting it this year because this is the first year rolling.
It doesn't have a savings account option.
Huh?
It doesn't have like a savings option or
It does, but it's one that our chart of accounts doesn't auto populate. And so that's one that I'm working.
Okay.
And this is the piece, this is not public facing, but this is where I want you to understand where some of this stuff comes in. If you come in and say, whoa, this looks different. When I look at departments, so a department in here can count as transportation and trails, which is actually our restricted revenue fund. But that's how the chart of accounts is reporting it. And so we have the expenditures that are planned right now, and these are pretty much the lift for this upcoming year. And right now, the object view is probably the most reliable view. So this shows our capital projects that are coming in. And capital includes this debt line, but this is under a different account structure. So that's why it shows up there. We did 5 million in capital, over 5 million in capital approved. General operations. Personnel this is where the line item where I was making sure that we were staying under our budget target. And then interlocal is grants and police department. And then transfers. This is about $1 million bouncing back and forth between the funds if we have to cover a gap in one fund because none of them can run a deficit. Other sources and transfers on the revenue side, this 11 million is where we have those unassigned fund balances that are sitting there that have been carried forward. They're not, these are the projects that we deferred that we're carrying those forward. And Parnell taxes, the 2 million in almost 3 million charges for services. This is both the wastewater service fees and the water service fees. And then we work down through other revenue, miscellaneous revenue and grants. But we're very top heavy on these first 2 line items. So that gives you, this is like the big high level view. But if we want to get into more specifics, and this is where the numbers become more real and tangible. So this is our general fund. You can look at it over the course of the year. And then we can go in and expand all. And what I want to pull out here is when I go in and expand all, and I go down to intergovernmental agreements. That way. When I look at our current year, what we've assigned out, grants and agencies, intergovernmental agreements, our IGAs where we've committed funds and such. If you click on this amount, what it's going to give you is, this is where this individual line item has been budgeted, and whether you're hit the budget, went over budget every year. And so right now, this one has 25,000 in it, and that has been committed. And so if this number has to increase, it has to come out of somewhere else within the town board's piece of chart of accounts. And I know that we have funding requests later tonight, but we also have to do an amended budget based on funding requests prior. And where I think it will come from is going to be this business enhancement programs that was underspent the last 2 years. And it has $75,000 now that would be an easy transfer without having to do a full budget amendment. If we go above these targets, then we would have to pull the money from somewhere else. And my recommendation going forward is when we are looking at funding ideas is to look to schedule a September RFP process where everybody can submit grants. The board can review and they can plug it into future budgets. And that way we're not budgeting money and then suddenly saying, oh, we're now overcommitted. Are there any questions?
Because I had such a good time with computers. When I'm deep bopping around in here, I can't mess anything up.
That's why you're reviewing. But I highly recommend going in and checking some stuff out in here. What this will allow us to do is run scenario models on different projections and say, okay, if population changes by this, what does sales tax do? If you want to get into it, what it'll also do is, as we work our way down, it basically becomes more public facing. The digital budget book is basically the budget narrative that I created and stuff like that. This is where it comes into a format that you can publish on the website and people can read and understand the narratives and such. And the last piece is the transparency, which this is where it actually publishes to the website and gives you a sense of what's going on in terms of financial data, demographics, different stuff. But someone can also pull up the Buyers Avenue water main project and see where we are in spending progress and actually what's happening on that project. So we can dive into individual capital projects that are affecting citizens on a regular basis, and they can see this on our website. And the transparency piece is where it is public facing and where the numbers do make a lot more sense because it's not looking at a summary, it's looking at some very specific projects and outcomes.
And the more we use it, the better it gets.
Yep. Are there any other questions? That was like 3 webinars all in like just a few minutes, so.
Wow.
It's a
But
good thing that you know what you're doing.
definitely use your logins, try it, see if you have specific questions. It'll get cleaner. My goal is that we do an amended budget in March to clean up some of this, and then it becomes public facing in time for kind of this construction season starting up this summer.
So I have a question. So you spoke about the business enhancement grant fund and now possibly a place to move dollars.
What are our restrictions? What are the restrictions that we have on the business enhancement grants?
So under the Business Enhancement Grant Program,
Yeah.
it is for
I forgot.
it's facade, signage, facade, and it's been used in the past. There was one application this year that's been spent. So that 75,000 that was budgeted is actually a little bit lower. I think it's going to be 68,000 is probably left in the grant, but the check hasn't cleared yet. So that is the big piece. That is there. Are no more applications in the pipeline. We only got one last year, and so that program is restricted. But if the board chooses to allocate funds from that to another line item, then that's okay.
Had the same question. Like, it seems like we need to this is not the time to be discussing that, but can we bring it up as a board topic in the future?
Yes.
Because we should be spending that on our community. So our businesses we need to be marketing that to our community to do a better job of cleaning
It's a
up. our
program
town.
that was not well utilized in the last couple of years.
Right.
Just for obvious reasons with COVID and stuff changing a lot of dynamics. But it's been, things like that have been blended with ARPA quite a bit, so.
And we did do asphalt one time. Do you remember that?
Mhm.
I voted against that one.
And a large portion of our community has been forever indebted to us for that.
For the asphalt?
Yeah. A very large portion.
Okay. Yep, that one still obviously rubs me the wrong way. Okay.
Where was that?
Liquor store.
Liquor store.
We did.
Liquor-
It's
liquor
supposed to
store.
be to enhance the building here.
Mm.
And
Sure
that's-
has been enhanced my visits there. So
Yeah, right.
think a lot of that.
Okay, anything else on the board on that? Thank you, Rob.
Well, thank you.
Okay, next is the Fraser Valley Metropolitan Recreation District Extension Request. Scott is here.
Hello, everybody. Uh, Michael, do we want to show the video after I talk about the project, do you think? Or
Just for the billions of people that are listening, can you introduce yourself, please?
yes, I believe I know most of you guys, but maybe not Lewis here. My name's Scott Ledeen. I'm the executive director with the Fraser Valley Recreation District. Thanks for having me. I believe you guys have some information in your packet, a memo from me and a brochure related to the project that we've been working on for about a year and a half with regards to fundraising for it. We are attempting to do this project without having to go to the taxpayers to raise any taxes. So we've started kind of a grassroots fundraising effort. We are taking $1 from our daily admissions at the rec center that we began back in July of 2021 to assist with this project. That should generate about $50,000 to $60,000 by the end of this year. We've also been active in writing and kind of going after local grants to establish some leverage to go after some larger grants for this project. I provided you in the memo some of the committed partners thus far so that you can see that I've been trying to make my rounds. We've been able to secure funding from the Grand Foundation, the town of Winter Park, the Winter Park Resort, Mountain Parks Electric, Cornerstone Foundation provided some help. And let me pull up my we're also we have about $35,000 in private donations that have come forward with the project, a couple of large $10,000 donations from a few individuals in our community that are helping us with that leverage. The Freeport McMoran is a grant that will be providing a letter of inquiry here coming up. So you can see that that is a pending request along with the DOLA Tier 2 Energy and Mineral Impact Assistance Funds that we have been able to tap into before. I've met with Kate McIntyre, who is now our DOLA rep up here, which is nice to have a local DOLA rep. Initially, we were considering applying for the Tier 1 grant, which is limited to a $200,000 ask. After meeting with her and talking about the project in a bit more detail, she is recommending that we go after the Tier 2 funding, which will allow us to ask potentially for up to $1 million to assist with the project. So I'm here asking for your guys' support to be able to show you guys as a partner in this grant writing as well. I think it will go a long ways in helping that leverage for these upcoming grants. As part of that DOLA request, they now have a renewable component that is part of their grant applications. And we have budgeted in 2023 to actually do a small scale solar project at the ice rink on the roof of the ice rink facility. It's about a 25 kilowatt project. We can use Mountain Parks Electric capital credits that will fund 50% of that project. There is a federal reimbursement program that will provide 30% of the project cost. So we can make that project at the ice rink happen this year for roughly $15,000 at the end of the day. We had budgeted to do a project at the rec center in 2024. So this DOLA grant will include that renewable component. It's a much larger system. It's probably a 120 kilowatt system. Again, the same funding is available through Mountain Parks Electric and through the federal government to get some funding to assist with that. And I think that will also help our grant look that much stronger because it will include that renewable component. The brochure goes into details about the project itself. It's about just under 3,300 square foot. And if you guys have been in the rec center and upstairs in the fitness area, it is in essence just expanding the fitness area out to the end of the current building. So no change to footprint on the building, no change to the exterior of the building. We're just able to add this 3,300 square foot that we luckily, at least that area we designed to be added on to or core and shelled sometime down the road. Rec Center's been open now just over 13 years, and we're seeing some challenges at certain times of the day and the year in that facility with the amount of use that's happening, especially when we have some of our teams in there, like from the comp center, that are in their training. I don't know. I know that that north parking lot that doesn't get a ton of use. Every time I drive by now, we're starting to see more and more vehicles taking up that parking lot. We had over 150,000 visits in 2022 through the facility. So it's certainly been well loved, and happy to answer any questions that you might have regarding the project itself.
How much is the overall project?
Right now, it's roughly 2 million. You know, the solar component will add a bit to it, but most of that is already covered. We're also talking about trying to squeeze in maybe a bit more admin space in the lobby area when you walk in. There's quite a large area there that we could potentially squeeze a couple of additional offices into if we're going to have the architect go through the process. There's also a DOLA grant that we're looking at to get us to design development phase that will allow me to probably do a better job of estimating these project costs. We've got some contingencies built in. As everyone in the room knows, construction costs continue to escalate. So we're hopeful that we can bring it in around that number and that we can leverage those funds. And then the remaining dollars, our board has committed to looking at certificates of participation or some public financing option that again would not require us to raise taxes or to go to the voters to do that.
When are you hoping to break ground? Like where, I guess you're not breaking ground, you do the addition.
Yeah, you know, I think some of this grant timelines can be pretty drawn out, whether or not we apply for that DOLA grant here in March or whether we wait until their summer cycle to have a bit more information related to those design documents. I may write that grant first and try to get the architect on board so that we can better estimate this cost associated with it. So it may be that we apply in the summertime. We would then hear by probably late winter, then to secure the financing. I mean, if all things went well, sometime in the next year to 2 years, hopefully, is our plan.
Can you put our 10,000 in a 18-month CD at 4.5%?
Last time I looked at the local CD rates, they weren't quite that high yet.
Yeah.
You know,
Pretty
we've talked about
close.
some different investment options for some of the dollars that are available. But we haven't pulled the trigger on any of that yet.
I have a little problem. It's a tax district. And so everybody is paying property tax on it.
Mhm.
The membership fees have gone up almost 30% on January 1st, which I know it's been a long time and it's probably due. And then to ask for more of the people of the town's money, when, although I think everyone should use it, there are people that don't use it, and they're already complaining about their property tax supporting it. So those are just some of my thoughts.
I would say there's plenty of amenities that everyone doesn't use. So it's, you know, it's just part of being in the public and paying taxes. So I think this is a very good amenity that
Oh, I love the rec center. I was back in the 70s. Was that when we had our first election?
think the first
78,
time
I
a rec
think.
center was on the ballot was in the 90s. The
Really?
rec district was formed in the late 70s and the
Okay.
first project was Pool Creek Golf Club.
Okay. So when it was formed, we were promised a rec center.
Absolutely. I think that was part of the service plan. It just took, 20 years to 30 years to make it happen, unfortunately.
Valley time.
That's the best in town.
Valley time.
Scott, I think it's a great asset for the community. I'm wondering, does the competition center and the National Sports Center for Disabled Athletes, do they pay fees to use the facility, or
They
is
do.
this 30,000 from Winter Park Resort cover their usage?
Nope, they do still pay. They, we have some agreements with them where their athletes and coaches receive some discounted memberships to use the facility, but they do indeed pay to use the facility.
Okay. And the same thing with the kids programs that go after school and everything?
Those all have fees. Typically, most of those have instructors. So our policy for all of our programs really is we have a cost recovery goal for all of those programs that we attempt to hit. So, any day at the rec center, you might have, gymnastics, swimming lessons, climbing club. We use the elementary school for our youth sports, basketball and volleyball. So we're still using facilities outside of the rec center as well as the historic church for some youth dance classes and our adult pottery programs over there. So yeah, anyone that uses the rec programs or the facilities are paying a fee to be involved in those.
I was impressed with the average daily visits exceeding 400 now, so that's awesome. That's a great asset for our community.
Shocked how many people there at 6 o'clock in the morning.
I used to be there at 6.
Definitely a decent asset for, you might
But
fit
not
us there,
anymore.
it's not police. But I'm in favor of.
Yeah, I know, I am. Just want to make sure everyone's sort of paying their fair share and
Yeah,
contributing, because we all do. I mean, to your point, we have a lot of things in the community we pay for. Like, I don't have any kids in school, but I pay taxes for schools and stuff, but it's the way it goes.
Outstanding too, that on the back of the new summer program that the locals have an extra month or so to sign up for the summer programs and daycare this year.
we're allowing, and it's tough to determine what is a local, right? Because anyone that pays property taxes up here, whether they're a part-time resident or a full-time resident, is truly a taxpayer, and we consider them more part-time residents. But our intent is to allow those locals that need that childcare to have first crack at the summer day camp programs, especially.
That's great. I saw that. I was like, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
It fills
So
up
keep an
fast.
eye out for those registration dates. I know that
Yeah.
specialty class registration date was today, and many of those programs sold out in the first 5 minutes.
I know.
Mhm.
5
We're on the
minutes.
wait list.
What's the pleasure of the board?
I'd like to fund that $10,000 and pull it from our business enhancement grant, because this is enhancing a business. We'd have to transfer the funds, but I think that,
I don't know if that's bigger than that.
It's tight.
it is tight. Everything
tight.
else is really,
With all the buildings.
I mean, we're talking about a budget amendment next month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's gonna be tight.
Is this a resolution
But
or?
it does seem appropriate because it's totally.
Come for
against-
consensus?
We would want to make a question.
Could we use the business enhancement funding? I mean, I think that makes sense.
that could be included in the budget amendment, just to transfer those funds into that, to use for that.
All for using
So do we need to make a motion? Okay. I move to contribute $10,000 to the Fraser Valley Metropolitan Recreation District to expand the rec center.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Opposed? Scott?
Yeah, thank you guys very much. Really appreciate the support, and I think it will really help us with our grant writing. I did provide a video that I'd love to share with you guys that the Fraser Valley Recreation District was recognized as the Special District of the Year. We attended the Special District Association conference over in Keystone in September, I believe it was, and we're very proud as a district, and just wanted to share that with you guys because I think as a community we should be proud of that as well.
For service. And finally, for our 2022 J. Evan Golding District of the Year. The J. Evan Golding District of the Year Award was established by the SDA Board of Directors to recognize a district's major accomplishments, focused on the aspects of community spirit and leadership. This year's winner, the Fraser Valley Metropolitan Recreation District, has shown tremendous embodiment of both of these qualities. The history of the district began in 1978. During this year, the residents of Fraser Valley submitted a petition to the Grand County District Court requesting the creation of a special recreation district. The request was initiated to provide the Fraser Valley a way to offer recreational and educational programs that would enhance and stimulate the summer season economy, thereby benefiting the community. This broader offering of recreational activities would need an entity to organize, manage, and fund the programs, thus the creation of the special district. The original service plan outlined the facilities that the Committee of Residents had envisioned. These services included a golf course, tennis courts, swimming pool, community building and clubhouse, baseball, softball fields, soccer fields, and a trail system. In January 1979, voters approved the formation of Fraser Valley Metropolitan Recreation District, and a mill levy increase was added to property taxes to support the operation. In the last 5 years, the district has taken on several large projects, including completion of the Freeze the Rink Ice Rink Refrigeration Project, updating the agency master plan, and 2 different instances of bond refinancing for community enhancement projects, saving taxpayers over $2 million and reducing the debt service term by 2 years. The district has also negotiated private vendor lease agreements at the Fraser Valley Sports Complex for the operation of an aerial adventure park and paintball venue. Work towards the successful passage of a revenue stabilizing measure to protect property tax assessment rate reductions, and executed an exclusive launch land agreement with a hot air balloon operator. In 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic created numerous challenges for the district. Loss of revenue and jobs from facility closures was abundant. Immense strain was felt across all facilities, from workforce shortages, forcing reduced hours, and in some cases, additional complete closures. New protocols had to be developed for all district operations. The district was not immune to the challenges that we all faced during this difficult time in our history. A critical component of the district's success is their innovative, service-oriented, hardworking, and loyal employees and volunteers. These dedicated individuals pour their hearts and souls into the district, with a majority of the management team having been with the agency for over 10 years. When there is a need, the staff has risen to the challenges through things like operating a boutique bowling alley and movie theater in order to keep the community asset open to improve the variety of activities available to the communities. Despite facing significant challenges, the district has continued to thrive and has grown significantly over the years, encompassing 218 square miles in the eastern portion of Grand County. The towns of Winter Park, Fraser, Tabernash, and surrounding rural areas all benefit from the services provided by the district. The district takes pride in owning and operating multiple award-winning facilities, including the Grand Park Community Recreation Center, Pole Creek Golf Club, and Bistro 28 Restaurant, the Fraser Valley Sports Complex, the Icebox Ice Rink, and the Foundry Cinema and Bowl. In addition, the district manages a large number of youth and adult recreation programs, summer day camps, and specialty camps. For over 40 years, the Fraser Valley Metropolitan Recreation District has enriched the community that surrounds them. They strive each day to keep their mission alive of providing a recreational and educational experience for the residents and guests through innovative quality programs and facilities that promote health and wellness.
Bravo, bravo.
I'm happy to answer any other questions you have related to Recreation District happening since I'm here.
I did have one question. I'm not sure I understand the connection. Freeport McMoran. I mean, what do they have to do with the community? And why are they contributing 50,000?
Henderson Mine and Mill, they own Henderson Mine and Mill, and there's a portion in eastern Grant County where the mill sits, and it's in Grant County. And so they have a program, their community enhancement grant program, that allows agencies that are within the counties that they serve, that their businesses sit in, to apply for funding.
Okay.
And they have a community partnership panel that various different agencies have representatives that attend those quarterly meetings. They keep us up to speed on what's happening with their agency and give us an opportunity to talk about projects and potentially ask for funding to assist with those.
Okay.
And the Energy and Mineral Impact Assistance Grant that we write through DOLA, there has to be some nexus to like mineral extraction. And so because we have that facility in our county, that is also helpful. Thank you, guys.
Okay, next is KFFR funding requests. Peter Skinner.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here with Ryan Wilson. He's also an employee at KFFR now. Here asking for money. A couple years ago, you guys funded us right after the pandemic brought us to our knees. We're a volunteer organization. Had to kick the volunteers out. I went on furlough. We didn't have any paid employees. And in 2021, the town funded us $20,000 in emergency funding. And we were able to leverage that money, turn it into community service. And as soon as the doors got back open, we were able to build a new studio, professional studio. Funding also assisted us with remote broadcasting equipment, which we've used to serve the community. And there's the new board in the new studio right there. Thank you very, very much. You guys saved us. And as you can see, if you look at this report that Ryan put together from last year, we are absolutely thriving right now. And we've had a lot of increased support through businesses. We're getting other municipalities involved, and they are supporting us as well. That was one of the conditions that you guys placed on us, was to nudge out and see if we could get some money from Winter Park. And we got money from Winter Park, and Grand Foundation, Grand County has funded us, and even Grand Lake just provided us with some funding. So we're here now to ask for some funding to help us take that next step. And if you do provide us this funding, this new position that we've created, executive director, who's Ryan Wilson here, will pay for itself next year. So this is an injection of cash. This is an improvement grant that will help us become a more robust radio station with much more service to the community. And we are focused primarily on Fraser. Fraser is the mothership. We're leaving planet Earth with you every single day. We're very focused on serving Fraser first, and then moving out beyond that to serve the other communities. So we want $15,000, please, to help fund this new position, which through which we'll be able to increase our programs. Our increased programs will help us raise more money from the community, business community, grants, underwriting, and events. Our programming has increased a lot since Ryan came on. Ryan has been an amazing volunteer, or saved the radio station many, many times over the years. And now he used to be a high school teacher, and he can speak for himself, but it's just really allowed us to serve the community a lot more rather than just having one part-time employee, me, since 2017. So this is to take the station to the next notch. A lot more community involvement, a lot more community events, a lot more remote broadcasts, a lot more business support, a lot more creativity, frankly, and classroom partnerships. We're doing some classroom partnerships with Fraser Elementary and both the high schools. We're going to be doing live broadcasts from both the high schools with youth panels, and some classroom partnerships to create programming that serves Fraser and Grand County. Do you have any questions about any of that stuff? I mean, I could brag about the station for a long time.
Steve, I love the station. And I think it's a great asset for the community. I'm just wondering, your tagline is KFFR Winter Park
Right.
and the headwaters of the Colorado River. So you're located in Fraser. We fund you, we support you, and you're saying in here that, you know, we're part of the Fraser community. Why are we not part of?
Excellent
tagline.
question. Excellent question. So the reason for that is legally, our city of license is Winter Park, but we're Fraser Free Radio. We've always been in Fraser. The FCC required, when we applied for a frequency, the frequency is available in Winter Park. Our transmitter's not in Winter Park, it's in Tabernash, essentially. Our offices are in Fraser. Our call letters are basically Fraser Free Radio, but it's our legal ID, which is required at the top of every hour, has to say KFFR Winter Park. But that's the reason for that. We're certainly we're dedicated to Winter Park as well, but our heart and soul and office and radio station is in Fraser. That's a great question.
I actually called in and asked them.
I mean, yeah.
And another interesting thing is that we were last year we applied for another frequency that came available from the FCC, and we were awarded that frequency. So we may be using that additional frequency to reach other parts of the valley.
Where does it reach right now?
Our broadcast signal reaches to the outskirts of Granby, essentially, and then all the way to the top of Berthoud Pass. So really, I mean, we're really focused on this zone right here, right now. And we also stream worldwide. A lot of people want to take the valley with them when they leave and they come visit this place, you know, and so, you know, Ryan could address this more because he's more in touch with the online listenership. But I know last year we had 14,000 unique online listeners. Is that right, Ryan? So yeah, we're people want to know what's going on in Fraser and Winter Park, and so we're providing them an opportunity to stay in touch. And we have a lot of our membership that is coming from outside the valley as well. And we just did a community survey. I don't know if you guys have taken it. I would love it if you did. But the results are just stunning. People absolutely love the station. They really support what we're doing. And so the results of that, Ryan could probably talk more about that too, if you wanted to hear about that. But we're growing really, really well. And I've worked in community radio, public radio since 1978. And KFFR is at that stage now when we're ready to become big players in the community radio network.
So you were sponsors of Fire and Ice?
You are sponsors of Fire and Ice. We
Okay.
definitely help support it by,
Okay.
you know,
Tell us what you did for Fire and Ice.
we just had announcements on the radio. Yeah. We offered to broadcast the music live, but that they didn't get back to us on that. So, but we're supportive. Chooch doesn't like fireworks, so I didn't go.
Don't like those.
Hey, board, they won me over because I saw my kid in the pictures.
I think mine was strategically placed as well. So
We love working with youth. I'm a big believer in it. And Ryan, of course, being a high school teacher, has helped catalyze a lot of connections with the student population. And we didn't ask for money last year.
Well, I'd like to make a motion to approve funding $15,000 to help support KFFR and their expansion.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you so very, very,
I'm
very much.
excited to see what happens with it.
Yes. Ryan, do you want to hear from Ryan for a second? I'll let you hear.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name's Ryan Wilson. Like Steve said, I was a Middle Park High School teacher for the past 4 years. My wife and I moved here about 5 years ago, and we own Grandma Miller's now. Community radio is my passion now. I mean, it doesn't even feel like a job. Every day I pinch myself to be able to go and work for such an amazing asset that this community has. And I really appreciate the support that Fraser has given to us. We were almost dead. I mean, Steve was on furlough. We had no money in the bank whatsoever. We're still barely eking by. And yet we just got the rec district to become an underwriter on KFFR. Katie's Fishers has one of our transmitters on the top of that. The community support that is coming around this radio station, I think, is going to be an amazing asset. We just had our strategic board meeting about 2 weeks ago, and we realized that we are now an institution in this community. I feel strongly that as our signal expands, we're the thing that's going to bring this whole county together. I know it's always been hard. There's 5 different communities together, and here in Fraser is where it all started. And I'm excited to be able to recognize Fraser. If you guys didn't know, you're the only logo on the bottom of every page on our website. We are always talking about, you brought up KFFR Winter Park. Well, we also say community radio for the Fraser Valley. And we kind of go back and forth. And I feel like that is more of our tagline. KFFR Winter Park is our FCC requirement. We are community radio for the Fraser Valley. Really appreciate the support. Come by the station. We're doing really exciting things. Remote broadcasting is something that is really getting us out into the community. If there's ever an opportunity for us to do that for the town of Fraser, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you so much, and thank you for supporting community radio.
Huge thanks, you too.
We need to get the word out on our public meetings. So pretty very much.
Okay,
Thanks, fellas.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So
Awesome.
we are now at ordinance number 492, amending chapter 19 regarding subdivision improvement agreement. Michael was. Oh, we should, yeah. Let's make it, we have popcorn, first time in forever.
I've smelled it outside. I was like, yeah. It's my favorite around here. It's great.
Oh, don't worry, Katie, we're going. Okay, Michael.
Right. Hello again, Board of Trustees, Mayor. What is before you today is a code change and ordinance to change the subdivision improvement agreement to meet the state requirements for legislation that was just passed recently, and basically requires us to remove language for illegal aliens from the subdivision improvement agreement. And that's the only change to the subdivision improvement agreement.
Is there a federal ruling on that as well, or just the state? No, that.
This is a Senate bill.
Just the state.
I'm not sure. It's state from what I know.
it's kind of a horse, you know.
I can't hear you. Katie. Are you, she said.
That's
kind
fair.
of a horse pill.
Mhm.
A horse pill?
It's hard to swallow,
Well,
but it's what it is. So we have no. So,
This was a state statute that changed that says this language is illegal now.
mhm.
And if you read the memorandum, from the Whitney Law Firm, um, this needs to be taken effect. This ordinance itself is also an emergency ordinance, so it takes effect immediately.
Mhm.
It would require affirmative vote by at least 6 of the trustees to pass the emergency measure. But this puts us in compliance with the state.
So what it allows is people that aren't citizens to have jobs and not pay tax.
I don't know what it allows, but it
Yeah,
what it changes is illegal language in our
Right.
code.
yeah. So our hands are tied.
I was just voting no. Well,
I think we could face potential lawsuit then if we did that
from the state,
from, I don't know, an illegal alien that
that doesn't have any rights.
State statute.
I'll take that risk.
So if I was a contractor and I was looking to enter into a contract with the town of Fraser, and I put in my contracts that I may or may not be hiring illegal aliens, and we deny the contract on those terms, it's essentially them fishing for a lawsuit, which you would likely get.
Okay. Somebody want to make a motion, please?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve ordinance 492, amending chapter 19 regarding subdivision improvement agreement.
One second.
Did you say second? Okay, and then any further discussion? And I'm gonna do a roll call. I think we're gonna do a roll call on this. So.
Waldo, yes.
Gregory, yes.
I'm not sure yet.
Souls, yes.
And no.
Circumventing, yes.
Katie?
Fisher, no.
Motion fails.
I thought it was 5-2 for emergency. That's what it used to be.
It's 3/4 of the governing body, which is 5.25, so we call it 6 votes, 6 affirmative votes, and 1 half emergency.
We use the number 5 for marijuana.
What passes?
It failed.
Oh, it did fail.
I did vote, but Vander no I. I mean, now that the town of Fraser is open to lawsuits. I'm not sure what's.
So 5-2 doesn't pass it. Has to be 6-1.
does.
So
5-5 does.
I'd like to continue the discussion with this then.
Okay.
Because as you say, it puts us out of compliance with the state and what everybody else has to do. Well,
The state's out of line.
this, but
Voting stuff that's not in the best interest of our country or our state or our community. That's what we're here to do.
What,
We are servants of our taxpayers. We are not servants of people that cross the border illegally. We are not, we don't represent them.
what is an illegal alien?
Someone
Or
that came into the country, doesn't pay taxes, doesn't have citizenship. Doesn't. I'm for.
Actually, they-
Legal and getting jobs and getting work. I'm all for that. I think open the borders and bring more in legally. But supporting people that are disobeying the law and saying, hey, let's give them a job, I'm against that.
they do pay social security tax and don't get anything out of it.
If they're getting paid above the table.
Well, you could say that about any American.
Right.
I mean, they're paying Social Security and Medicare. It's like everybody else, right?
Hmm.
If they don't have property, they're not going to pay property tax. I mean, I have a real problem with us going against the state
Why-
regulations and setting ourselves up for lawsuits.
Why would the
It's just-
state just make it mandatory then?
Right.
Well, it is mandatory, sort of. right?
It is
They've said-
mandatory.
It is
It's a
mandatory.
state statute, we're statute.
And our attorney is advising us to approve it.
If it's mandatory, why do we have to go?
Because it changes our code. It requires a change to our code.
I think Katie probably just needs to know more about that whole system and procedures because she's relatively new.
No, I understand.
You,
that.
you understand it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, should Kent come before the board and explain it more in detail? Because I'm not sure everyone really understands what jeopardy this puts the town in.
I'll be reaching out to Kent. To follow up on the next actions. This was an emergency ordinance. It could possibly come back to the board without the emergency provision. The emergency provision simply allows it to take effect immediately. But I need to talk with Kent about the legal precedent for doing that. It would come back to the board again and Kent would be here to provide.
So if it's not an emergency ordinance, then it's just a simple majority.
Right.
I do wonder, does the board need to rescind their vote? Because if an ordinance fails, can you actually bring that back to the board?
I think the statutory requirements would have to take someone from a no vote to reintroduce this. So I need to verify that with Kent.
And then also the 5 versus 6, because Robin interpreted that as 5.
Well, if Kent comes and verifies that it's 5 versus 6, then essentially the motion passed.
Right. So
That's my next question to Kent.
Is it worth asking a local builder for 3 minutes worth of feedback? Okay,
Could be anybody.
anybody, I know, but employing different people and what that would do.
Okay,
Okay,
so we're not.
So hopefully it's coming back.
Failed or passed.
We'll determine that.
Okay. Likely coming back. Next is town manager contract approval. So we have that was in the packet. Yes. We've come to terms with Michael's going to be our next town manager. I'm excited about that. This is simply approving the contract and
Has much changed since our previous contract, like for Ed, other than,
I had to completely rewrite.
okay,
There's no ambiguity.
I read through it, nothing jumped out at me.
Discussion. Okay.
I move to approve the town manager contract.
I second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Official.
All right.
Much appreciate almost.
That's to be signed yet, right?
Okay, next is, do you want to give a 10-minute speech or?
I know, I was like, should I have written a speech for this?
Maybe for 3 minutes.
I don't have the music prepared.
I'm gonna be out of here by the playlist.
Way off. I thought 9:20.
No, I definitely want to say thank you to the board of trustees and the staff and the confidence and really excited for the opportunity. I think there's a lot of great initiatives we can push forward, smooth out some challenges that we have and look at some great short-term wins and prepare for the long-term game as well. So looking forward to getting our hands dirty and getting to work. Thank
Great.
you very much. I really appreciate it. My family appreciates it. Very humbled by the opportunity.
Congrats, Mike.
Congratulations.
Okay, next is updates. Anybody have any updates?
I want to say, give attaboys and attagirls to our Public Arts Committee. Fire and the staff that helped with Fire and Ice. It was an awesome event. It was so much fun and everybody had grins from ear to ear. It was really, really cool. And getting the ice sculpture contest there. And having all the grooming done so people could walk around and not fall into the snow. You know, there's always little things to add to make it better every year, but it was fabulous. And they're a bunch of dedicated volunteers, and I know they put a lot of time into it. So I want to formally thank the Public Arts Committee for the work on Fire and Ice.
It was a wonderful event, but there were definitely some big problems. So I don't know when that's going to be addressed.
Like what?
Like what? I thought the manager of Safeway was going to be here tonight. There were
Oh,
people
yeah.
parking in the loading zone, so the trucks couldn't get in, customers couldn't get in. The fire truck had trouble getting into the event. I talked to the driver of the truck today. Lewis, and I've heard other people mention the lighting. People didn't know where to walk.
Lack of lighting, yeah.
Lack of lighting, yes.
Well, yeah, the traffic was a nightmare. And we walked, but you know, people that drove, I mean, it was just gridlock. So I don't know, that needs to be addressed next year, some solution for traffic flow or, you know, shuttles or something to get people in and out.
There were shuttles, but they weren't
they
used
were
very, thank you, Brian.
They were stuck in traffic too.
No, well, we
No.
moved pretty well, but it was underused. But having just one driver at the end would have been a problem if it was used more. A lot of people said they didn't know about it, but my daughter in California knew about it, so I don't know where the breakdown was there.
Yeah.
But
It'd be a great.
a
walk-through event.
wonderful event.
It may be just simply having somebody patrol that parking lot.
Yeah.
And the roads.
Murdoch's full, the bank was full.
One of the business owners from the,
What?
one of the business owners from the building adjacent to Safeway let the air out of someone's tires that I know. And guess which one it was?
No.
Yeah.
What
Okay.
This is to do fire and ice special so that, you know, when it's over and people go to leave, other people can come back and get special deals, fire and ice. About
You know how many people showed up? I mean, it was packed.
1,000,
I was, my estimate,
about 2,500.
that was just
Yeah.
looking at the crowds when we were all around the fireplace. I went,
Mhm.
okay. And I counted, I said, there's 50 and there's that way.
And I
Easy
do.
to come up with the number.
It's gonna get bigger every year.
I heard multiple people say several thousand people were there. So,
Yeah, it was all-
It was crazy
Guys
at the
did
bar.
sculptures, the
Nuts.
couple of sculptures were incredibly done. I mean, you didn't go there and look at them, you missed out.
I didn't
Probably
see
still
them.
there.
Yeah, the photos,
little melted.
Yeah.
No, one thought I did have though,
I know that wind today might have put in solid.
now that the sculptures are open for for people to just look at them. The Safety Souls, the one with the snowmobile, the bear on the snowmobile is very vertical and it's kind of heavy. And if something happened and it fell over on somebody, it might get hurt. So I don't know if we want to put something around them, this little fence, ropes or something that says.
Slow 'em up.
But that's the risk manager in me, sorry.
You wouldn't go, oh, gee, full place.
Everywhere I look, I see carnage.
Somebody went over there and see what trouble you can get
It's,
into.
it's gonna, it's gonna be somebody that's doing a TikTok on top of that sculpture that falls on. Okay, any other updates?
CDOT filled potholes
Yes.
on 40 today.
Where? Oh my
Yeah,
God,
I
right
know.
here.
Through Fraser,
You
through
take-
Fraser.
Tonight, you
Yeah.
gotta take the right-hand turn
Yeah.
and you don't have to dodge that giant hole. coming
At
up
the
on
one
Eisenhower.
at the gas station? You mean Eisenhower? Jeff?
Mhm.
Oh, my gosh.
Yep, they were on highway.
Okay,
How
Did you have to get them?
I
I didn't.
Oh.
Okay, good.
okay, it doesn't sound like we have any more updates. 'Cause
All
now the audience is talking out of the, so are we done? Is everybody done?
The fun's over.
Okay, can I have a motion? And then everybody can
I
chit
move
chat?
to adjourn. It's 7:25.
Whoa. I'm gonna have dinner with my kids.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Hi.
Opposed?
Eileen, you have my